All right, so I have this question here from Nicholas. And Nicholas is saying, please, sir, my question is, how do I discover my gift or talent? People say everyone has a potential talent, but I can't find it in me. I've been trying to study myself, but can't find it. Please help me. All right, so this is a good question. This thing about talent. And I think the best place to start is to understand what a talent is and where this word talent came from. Now, this word talent is an English word that came from um, a Greek word called talenton. Talenton. Um, and that was a word developed by the Greek. Now, what a talenton is, money has always been expensive to produce. Money has always been expensive to produce. It has always been a problem that the world has dealt with. Producing money has always been something that the world has tried to tackle. So, what the financial system tries to do is to reduce the supply of money or the production of money. And so then, what the Greek did, they were very intelligent people. What they did was they produced, there was this stone like thing. That's what they called a talenton. It was like a rock that people would offer a money changer, and the money changer will put it on a scale. And depending on how heavy that rock is or how many of those rocks you have, they will put um, um, silver coins, which was a denarii or a drachma, which was the silver coin for the Romans and the Greek. They will put it on the other side of the balance. So if they put one coin and it doesn't lift that thing, then they put another coin, then they put another coin till that thing lifts, and then they're at equal level. Then that's the amount of money you would take for that talenton that you have, for the amount of talent on those rocks you have. It's almost like what the world is trying to do now, where money is very expensive to produce. So they give you a plastic called a debit card. So you carry around the plastic. So you see, that plastic on a good day is cheaper to produce than it is to mint out money. The resources that go into making money is very expensive. So that's why they stopped making 1 naira coin or 50 kobo coins, because to make one unit of 1 naira coin they could be spending about 10 naira just to make one. So it was a loss for the economy. So what they made was this plastic, which you guys called ATM cards. So for the Greek, it was like going to a POS machine and giving them your plastic, and depending on how much was on that plastic, the POS would give you, or the ATM would give you a particular amount of money. So then they were using balances, and you would have something called a talenton, which was a rock, pretty much a rock, a round rock, a round flat rock, which people carried around. So if you had two, you go to the money changer, and depending on how the balance is, some money changers were very dubious, you understand? So they made their balance very, very uneven. So when they just put one coin, it just balance out. But then, if they were honest, depending on how many coins they put, that's what you got for your talenton. So the English kind of developed that into the word talent. Now, what you must understand about the Greek and the Roman people is that they were very intelligent people. However, they were very materialistic people also. And so everything for them was about earning. Everything for them was a business. They were very focused on materialism. They were not very spiritual people. They were always after their own end. What's in it for me? And in the end, that was what caused the destruction of these civilizations. It was always that selfishness. You understand, that ganging up against somebody because of your own personal. So they betrayed each other a lot for personal ends, and then they were consumed by each other. However, now that brings us to the word talent. So the word talent has always been something kind of controversial, because it finds its etymology in in getting back something. So what people call talent, what the Romans saw, was when you have a skill, it was always to get back something. So they say, what do you have that you can offer that people could say, this is how much I would pay you, that is commensurate to what you're offering. So when you have a natural ability, when they had natural ability, for them, it was a cash cow. It was like a talenton. You understand? So they put it and say, how much is this your own worth in terms of denarii, in terms of silver coins? And that's what we've taken on, we have adopted in today's society as talent. So when we think of talent, we think of this guy is so talented, oh, man, he's going to make a lot of money. You understand? And that in itself brings us to your question. You are finding it hard to find your talent. Now, when people say they find it hard to find their talent, now, I do believe everybody has a talent. But the problem is we start to rationalize our talent or those things we can do by how much money they can bring us. So we dismiss some things, not because they are not there, but because we don't see what they can lead to financially. So a lot of people that tell me, I can't find my talent, is because they dismiss something. They're like, oh, I like to clean, but I don't want to be a cleaner, so that cannot be my talent. It cannot be what I have naturally. I like to arrange. Would I be arranging chairs in stadiums and people's houses? No, that's not what I want to be. So a lot of times when people tell me they cannot find their talent, it's because they cannot find what they want. They are looking for what they want rather than what they have. And that in itself is the problem with locating your talent. And because we still call it that thing talent, there is a talenton by the Greeks, which is an exchange, a measure for money. It still confuses us in today's day when we think of what we can do in exchange for money. Now, because the Greek and the Romans were not spiritual, the English are not particularly spiritual. Let's look at what more spiritual people call it. And that's where when you look at the Hebrew people were more spiritual. You know, people that were called Asians were more spiritual. And then they look at what God calls it. And God doesn't call it a talent. What we have, what He has given us, He doesn't call it a talent. He has never called it a talent. It is man that calls it talent. God calls it a gift. And God calls them spiritual gifts. That means, what does that mean? It means that He's the one that gave it to us. We didn't work for it. So they are spiritual. We don't know how they came. We don't know why we have them per se, or why God chose us to have them. That's why He calls them spiritual gifts. So God calls them gifts. The world calls them talent. The world thinks they are a measure of exchange for money. God thinks it's a measure of exchange for service. And not even measure of exchange, it's the measure of service. So what you need to look for, or what you need to see your God-given abilities as, not as talent, but look at them as a measure of service. So God says every person has a gift. Everyone has a gift from God. And that gift is meant for service. Once you start seeing your gift as something you should serve with, and not as something particularly that you should monetize, the primary reason not for monetization is for service, you locate it easily and you start using it. So you realize, I like to clean. And people need clean houses, they need clean cars, they need clean classrooms. I'm going to offer myself to clean in my church, in my school, get there early to clean. I don't care about how much they're going to give me, but I know I like to clean. I know how to clean very well. So you put yourself in that environment where you are able to express your ability and your desire to clean. Not thinking of yourself as a cleaner, but thinking of yourself as someone who is serving with something you are driven to do, something you know how to do better than the other person. You don't see yourself as a cleaner, you see yourself as someone who is serving with an ability to clean. You understand? And that's where identifying your talent in quote comes from. Everybody has a talent. You can see, so with kids don't categorize themselves, don't pigeonhole themselves into job descriptions. That's why a kid will do anything. And that's why it's easier to identify gifting in kids, because kids do not rationalize what that container is called. So when a kid likes to arrange things, he doesn't see himself as a cleaner. He just arranges because it makes them happy. It is the parents that corrupt and say, go and start drawing, go and start singing, go and start playing football, go and start dancing, be a mathematician. No, we're the ones that teach them categorization and class system. Kids want to express, and that's why when you don't own or identify your gifting as a kid, by the time you grow up into a young adult or a teenager, it's already corrupted. So you've already learned to diminish some things and to eliminate them from being what you consider your talent. So what you need to do is begin to unburden yourself of some of this corruption that you might have taken up over time from society, from your teachers, from your parents, from your peers. And deep in there, you'll find your talent. You'll find your talent, or by what God calls it, your gift. And one thing I want to make clear is that this gift, this talent, it always evolves. It never stays the same. So it starts as a seed, it grows into a fruit. But a lot of times we dismiss it as seed state because it doesn't look like what we want. So I'll give this example of the orange seed, which I like a lot. The orange seed looks nothing like the orange, but it grows into the orange. It grows into the orange tree that produces the orange. Now, does the orange seed taste like an orange? No. If you ever taste an orange seed, it's very bitter, but the final product is very sweet. The orange seed is very hard. The final product is squeezable and has a lot of juice. The orange seed doesn't have a lot of juice. The final product has good aroma. It has this citrus aroma. The seed itself doesn't. But the seed goes through a process to become the tree that bears that fruit that has more seeds. So, but a lot of times we despise the seed state because we assume that it's always going to be in the seed state. Our talent, our gift will always be in the seed state. But it won't. It won't always be in the seed state. I'll give myself as an example. When I was growing up, I found my gift very easily. I loved to draw. I drew. It wasn't about giving me money or anything. I just drew every single day on every single surface. Got me in trouble a number of times for drawing on the wall and stuff like that. But then I was always drawing. I knew that was my natural gifting. And I owned it. Because people around me told me, oh, you can draw, you can draw, you can draw. So I owned it. I'm very lucky because a lot of people are not that lucky. But I owned it very early on in my life. Now, do I draw now, over 40 years later? No. Now, I speak, I teach, I mentor. So my drawing gift went from drawing with pencil and paper to designing with a computer, to consulting about design, to teaching about design, to teaching about life. See, it looks nothing like what it started from. It looks nothing like the seed. What I'm doing right now, the fruit looks nothing like the seed. So it could still evolve further. You understand? A few years' time, I could be doing something totally different. You understand? So if I despised the seed then and just thought what I will end up being 40 years after is a roadside artist, I would have been wrong in my assumption. But that's what we do a lot of time with our gifting. We always despise it because we look at, I like to clean. So that will lead me along the path of being a professional cleaner, which I'm not even looking down on you being a professional cleaner, because as long as you're expressing what God gives you, you always find fulfillment. But I'm saying you don't know what it's going to be. I like working with wood, so in the end, I'll become a carpenter, which is the mistake parents make. We look at what the child is doing, so they'll become, oh, he likes dancing, so he's going to become a dancer. He's going to be dancing all around. He can sing, so he's going to become a singer. No. Your gift always evolves. The seed never stays the same. Some people's seed, they'll kind of end up looking a little bit like the fruit, but it will evolve. But most times, the seeds don't look. The watermelon seed looks nothing like the watermelon. It doesn't. The mango seed looks nothing like a mango. So if you judge it and throw it away based on what the seed looks like, you will never end up with the fruit. So you need to find out what your seed is. It doesn't matter whether you want it or not, it's what you have. And you need to start serving with it without categorizing yourself as that as an occupation, but as a service. And when you do that, you'd realize that you realize that you have a talent, you have a gift. But one thing you know that is not about an exchange for money. That comes along the way. The money part is an appreciation. You understand? It's an appreciation. It's a byproduct. It is not the aim. It's not the reason why you have the gift or the talent. Once you get that mentality out of the way, you begin to think clearly and begin to see clearly what you truly have as a gift.